It's not gonna hit like they said. Yes.
John, this is.
Should take a picture there, like at the time.
Like I said, it's like, right,
Yeah.
like,
No,
how,
exactly. Right. This is what it.
they're saying like they're making pressure on was, this is.
So holiday.
Yeah.
It's almost 70.
Going to Morgantown, I guess.
This is gonna go above us, like this.
Kids are spending. So they built my wife.
Nice. How old are your kids?
This, my youngest daughter's age is 5.
The roads are bad.
Oldest story.
I have 2 daughters.
Yeah, you're.
That was two.
Is it?
Mark, how are you?
How's your daughter? What daughter? How was she going to rank?
Storm seven. No, she went back to school afterwards.
Oh,
Well, it shows you what a bad start.
like brainwashed or something. My father can't be, he was a doctor. I wish he would have put
It
it
is.
in.
In many ways, I'm heartened by it. A little bit. Wow, she shocked the hell out of me. She announced it. We had no idea.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We didn't talk to you about it. Hey,
And by the way, I don't know. At this point, let's leave it. Remember how they used to flip it on either side?
I can put the podium on the tree, just in case.
Make sure we. Hi, tree.
Hi, how are you?
If you guys for the last.
It's
Here.
Isn't it though?
That's fine. We'll work with that.
And then if they come up to speak, we can move that microphone over.
Yeah, okay.
We can stand.
Somebody recently moved into a building. Right now, I can't remember who it was, so.
Good to go.
Okay, could you put the agenda up on the screen there? I want to make sure I'm doing everything in order here properly. Okay, first of all, let's call the meeting to order. The next hearing, meeting, I guess, is January 24th in this room at 8:30. Could I swear on the staff at this point, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, answer I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, and then we'll do the roll call, please.
Okay. Steve Whitman,
Here?
Mike Lusk,
Here.
Bob Loverson,
Here.
Jenna Maniaci,
Here.
Tony Slanik,
Here.
Trudy Bartley,
Here.
Otto Beatty,
Here.
Jennifer Ridley.
Here.
A full house.
Full house, great. Okay, would you give us the overview of the hearing format, please, Louis?
Yes, so the order of speaking will be that city staff will present application materials. Then the applicant will be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials. We welcome speakers from the audience. We ask them to go to the podium in the front of the room and speak and limit their discussion to 3 minutes. Commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions if needed.
Very good. Okay, so is there, what comes next? I can't read that.
Public forum in case there's any member of the public who wants to address the commission.
Does anybody have anything to say up front?
Not related.
Okay, I don't see anything. Very good. Let's,
And then we
Mark?
have Mark DeVos.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm Mark Tervillis, the Planning Division Administrator, and I always want to thank you for your volunteer service, particularly on a chilly morning today. So thanks for coming out. I'm glad to see the full house. And I'm here to just spend a few minutes to give you an update on the city's update to the zoning code. I'm here on behalf of Kevin Wheeler. You all know is Assistant Director now in the Development Department. He's pulled on this effort. I'm not going to start with giving you the overview of what zoning is because you know that. That's typically how we start this. What I will say is that the zoning code has not been comprehensively updated since the 1950s. So, really once in a multi-generation effort that we're about ready to undertake. We are in technically phase 2 of the project. Phase 1, as you might know, was an assessment of the existing code that was conducted in 2020 to 2021. And key findings were 5 of them. One is that zoning standards are not tailored to local conditions, so we don't have a context-sensitive code. That our code does not prioritize future housing and transit needs equitably. It's really not serving the city's, goals and policies. It's not user-friendly. It really over-relies on site-by-site negotiations. So many cases are council variances and limitations on text and so forth. And that really the multi-layered and scattered decision-making process is uncertain for all involved. So these are key findings of the phase 1. Also in phase 1, there was a survey conducted that received over 3,000 responses. I won't go into the details, but I'll say typical priorities that we heard back was the need for affordable housing, improved transit, equity, but also with the notation that we realized, well, we got 3,000 respondents, that it was really a speck of who we need to be touching, and that we, in particular, need to reach beyond the typical parties that engage in an effort like this. So that's really set the stage for the phase that we're in now, where we're actually going to start updating the code, focusing on primary corridors in the city. And a key piece being the need to educate and engage, at a deep level throughout the city. And right now, Kevin is working with consultant teams, and Jennifer Benning and BCS, Tony Celebrezzi is point person on developing those materials and getting ready to do this. In many ways, this is sort of like a very early, touch here that they've gone to all area commissions throughout the city. And, one thing I'll mention at the end is the Undesign the Red Line exhibit that was in this building is making it out to rec centers, is being used as sort of a soft launch of the zoning code update. So really key is the, raise the level of awareness of residents about, what the zoning code is and how it impacts our lives, and how folks need to get involved in driving this process. So the focus again to start is on the primary corridor, so Broad Street, Main Street, Parsons Avenue, Morse Road. Idea being that these are our main streets. This is where there's a lot of development activity. This is where there's opportunities for housing intensification, retail revitalization, so forth. Key topics are opportunities for mixed-use development, housing policies, parking needs and policies, land use and development, building standards. There's been no decisions about these matters. We just know these are the topics we need to talk about. And the key is that, again, the engagement is going to be coming starting soon. The intent is to draft code through 2023, and then really have a final draft reviewed and adopted in the spring of 2024. And then the next phase will be the follow-up summer 2024 to really get into the neighborhoods themselves. So we start with the corridors, but then get into the neighborhoods. Ultimately, it'll be a comprehensive update to the entire code. And as I mentioned, a soft launch is the Undesign the Red Line exhibit. Hopefully you saw it when it was here. It's quite powerful. And I was at Glenwood last week and heard both Jennifer Benning from our department say a few words, and then Hilltop Commissioner speak also about kind of how racist development policies of the past had a direct impact on his life. It was quite powerful. And then we're talking about, again, the need for communities to engage in order to drive the future, the rewrite of the zoning code The zoning code isn't the whole ball of wax, but it's a key piece that we want to get right, obviously. I left cards with each of you because it has contact information. And the last thing I'll say is, we're really asking, all city commissioners to be sure that you're involved in this process and to spread the word. As you know, the key engagement, one, two people that you talk to is the best engagement that we do to make sure, you get others involved in this. Happy to answer any questions that you
I
have.
got a quick one. Downtown zoning district is obviously an outlier.
Yes.
Anything on your radar screen for downtown area?
I forgot that part. Thanks for asking, because that was one of Kevin's words was, the message is, we don't anticipate really touching the downtown district. And I think the response or the comment that I would have is the priorities is the other areas. In many ways, we think we got the downtown district right, and it's serving as it should. So we're leaving it alone.
And of course, I remember when we set up the downtown zoning district, there were comments to the effect that, at least with respect in those days, this was whatever that is, 25 years ago or so, there were lots of comments about the 1960s style zoning code for the city.
Right.
And that we were a different area. So we kind of went through that process in a way, I guess, earlier. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
In many ways, I think we got it right here. Yeah.
good. Any questions
I
for
think it works pretty well.
Mark?
I think it's a massive undertaking, and I commend you for being willing to take it on, because
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. And, well, definitely needed.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No,
And credit to Kevin. He's living this every day, and he's been tireless, and I think he really takes it, personally to, get the job done. So, but obviously it'll take all of us and more.
Are you looking at other cities, things that other cities have done as models?
Absolutely. So Lewis here, principal planner and staff of the downtown commission, Mark Roston, who helped set up, is another of our principal planner. One thing that Kevin did early on was ask a number of planning division staff and BZS staff were assigned to look at other cities. So there was really pretty extensive benchmarking. Of course, the consultant team is also charged with doing that, but we kind of took it upon ourselves because we wanted to make sure that we kind of knew the deal. And takeaway was nobody has really exactly got this spot on, but there were elements of many cities that are doing things that we are noteworthy. And we think we've got an opportunity sort of based on where we're at to sort of really, raise the bar generally.
I think it's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
I just had a question.
Yeah.
What would be the best way for us as a commission or as individuals to get involved?
I mean, that's a good question. I think the answer to that, I think, will be determined a little bit based on the engagement opportunities that are going to be developed here in the upcoming months. So for the moment, I think it's really like go to the website here and sign up to get the emails, because then you're going to get the email and see, okay, online survey here or bus tour here or, what have you. So I don't know right now other than, please sign up to get the messages. And then you'll find out from there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay. Mark, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time.
Nice to see you. Thank
Good
you.
to see you all.
Okay, is there a staff report you want to give us, or do you want us to go ahead and approve the minutes from the
Approve the
last
minutes.
meeting? Can we do that? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. And is there a second? Okay, did you say second?
Second.
Okay, Tony, good. So the motion is on the floor. Any questions, corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Is there a staff report of any kind, or?
Oh, yes, yep, so we'll start off, first case is 111 Bell Street. I'll pull that up here on the map for you so you can see where it is. It's one of the buildings of the new side of the peninsula, so not much to see aerially, but right there. And I did make a site visit to the location. So this is the building. This is the residential structure. And there's going to be a rooftop sign right here, a projecting sign over here, and a canopy sign right there. So here's just the view. It's going to be on this side facing the downtown. Just give you some of the context surrounding. That's looking west. This is the buildings that are directly to the north, the Junto Hotel, and then the office building. And then across the way is Dorian Green. So that's what the sign will be looking out on. So the applicant is proposing installation of 3 internally illuminated signs, a 55 square foot projecting sign, a 136 square foot skyline sign, and a 19 square foot canopy signs. All signs will have acrylic faces and say 1 on them. Our analysis is that buildings should not be dominated by graphics. Messages should be designed in a simple fashion. Tower signs should be proportional to the building height and mass and compatible with the architecture. Illumination is supported. Projecting signs should be proportional to the building, and wall signs should be proportional to the building to which they are attached. So generally, the proposal meets the guidelines with regards to graphics. And I will pull up the packet here, well, if you want to call up the applicant.
Is there someone here for the applicant, please? Thank you. Would you please identify yourself for the record?
Colin Brinkman,
I'm sorry, say again.
Colin Brinkman,
And you're with?
Dana Sign Company.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand? You swear in affirming the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of as Lewis went over
Why don't
there.
you just walk us through it?
Yeah, so, I'll start with the projecting sign, just something
Fine.
for, some graphics for more of pedestrian traffic, foot traffic there. Just identifying the structure or the building there. And then also the canopy sign just over one of the entrances as well. And then the rooftop sign, obviously, the one high up, that's.
Why don't you, those are small numbers. Could you just review the dimensions real quick for us while
yeah.
you're going through
Yeah.
it?
I got the rooftop sign in front of me, so it's a 6 foot, 8-inch tall sign by 20 feet, 5 inches wide.
Okay.
And that would be, facing towards downtown. As far as the. Check this. So the canopy sign, that's 2 feet 6.5 inches tall by 7 feet 9 inches wide.
And you've got a blade sign.
Yeah. All right, there we go. And then the blade sign, yes, that one is 10 feet tall, and then 5 feet 7 inches wide.
Okay, great. Now, tell us about the illumination. How is there a brightness scale, or are they all the same? Is that modified? Are they lit during the day or just at night, or?
So my client, they never notified me of the specific timing of it. I'm assuming it would be on some sort of timer that would be adjustable, or maybe a photo cell of some sort. They didn't mention anything specifically to me about that.
And how about the brightness level? Can that be adjusted, or is it a certain level of brightness?
My understanding is it's just going to be standard LEDs in there. They did not mention anything about a certain type of brightness or anything specifically, as far as that's concerned.
And can it be adjusted then, the light?
I'm sure if that's something that would cause for approval, then I believe that they would be willing to provide that information. They just never provided anything to me
Okay.
specifically. But
Yeah.
yeah, I believe they should have the ability, or they could look into an option that could adjust the brightness of those signs.
Okay, any other questions from anybody?
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
So the first question is for the signs, the rooftop and the canopy.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's a raceway behind it, for the illumination. And
Yeah.
is that concealed pretty well or camouflaged pretty well, or where would that occur on both of those signs?
Yeah, if that would be required, then they would, yeah, we would paint it to match the facade as closely as we could. So we would, my client, they're a sign company, so they're working directly with the GC there. They would then obtain the color that would make it blend in. As close
What's the
as-
material that's mounted on up at the top there? I can't remember, to tell you the truth.
Mason?
Brick.
Is it brick?
Yeah.
This will be facing.
And it's,
Yeah,
they show the 6 penetration
Mhm.
points there.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's a raceway, it looks like it's just penetrating.
yeah, I think it's a flush mount to the wall directly, yeah.
So the electric feed comes through the wall there from behind.
Correct, yes,
So there's
yeah.
no raceway, it's just,
Mounted flush to the wall. But again, I believe if my client, if it is something that would be required, they would be willing to accommodate that. And that would avoid multiple penetrations through the wall.
the other question is, on the blade sign, the sign that's the blade sign, is that meant to just be identifying the building itself? Or is that meant to be associated with the bar, or both,
That's just to associate with the building
with the
itself.
both building?
Yeah, to identify the building.
It is.
Yep.
Are there other questions for the applicant? Okay. Is there a,
I'll move for approval.
okay,
Second.
and there's a second, so the motion is on the floor. Questions, comments? Okay, what's the pleasure of the group? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Next one,
Have a good holidays.
Okay. Okay,
Next case. We're gonna be at 330 Huntington Park Lane. If we look here, it is Huntington Park, this building here on the east side along Neal Avenue. The sign will be going along this side of the building right here.
the record show that Trudy has kids herself.
Oh, thank you. All right. And I did do a site visit as well. It's up here. So this is the building in question. You can see here's the ballpark on the west side. This is the facade facing east, the side facing east. This is where the sign will go here, next to the windows, next to the Huntington Park entrance. Right here as well, you can see the view looking south. And this is kind of what's across the street. So a little park area. So the applicant is proposing an on-premises Pepsi vinyl wall sign. The sign will be applied to the brick and measure 8 feet tall and 16 feet long. The sign incorporates wings to encourage photo opportunities. Our analysis is that the guidelines state that wall signs are preferred in the downtown because it is a pedestrian-oriented district. There are no specific area requirements, but should be proportional to the building. Buildings with multiple tenant spaces should establish a cohesive rhythm appropriate to the building for the placement of wall signs. And that the proposal generally meets the guidelines for wall signs. That I'll pull up the packet and you can call it the applicant if you'd like, Steve.
Yes, would the applicant come up, Ken? Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
I'm Ken Schnocky, Columbus Clippers in Huntington Park.
And could you raise your right hand? Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
So
sir.
say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Okay. It's all yours. You have the floor, Ken.
Okay, well, we have a certificate of appropriateness on the south side of the building. You saw the green sign from Mountain Dew. Pepsi is one of our major sponsors at the ballpark, and they're doing this at many cities throughout the country. It's simply the little thing with the wings where you stand in front of it for a photo op. There was even a picture of the lake. There it is.
So there we
To
go.
give you some idea of the depth of it. It's 18 bricks plus mortar wide and 27 bricks plus mortar high. which actually is closer to 12 by 7. So it's vinyl, just like the other sign we have. It'll be rolled onto the brick, so it will look like it's painted. It's not illuminated or anything. It's just something for a photo op when you're downtown in the Arena District. So we think it's a nice add-on. I don't think it's very imposing at all. It's relatively small for the size of the building. There's nothing across the street that would cause any concern. It's just the open field between Flats on Vine and the Columbia Gas Building. So,
Louis, you might, you and I talked a little bit about what this is. This is not it's not a billboard graphic.
No, it's on premise, so it's not a billboard.
So this does not provide a permanent entitlement is where I'm going with that, so.
Yeah, it's all done at.
Yeah. And I didn't understand it. It kind of looked kind of funny to me. And then Louis explained to me that it's something you can use to get your picture taken. So it makes.
we can make it look like you're flying.
There you go. See? So at any rate, thoughts, questions?
How is it not an admiral?
It's not an ad mural in the sense that it's an on-premise graphic. They sell Pepsi. Pepsi is one of their major sponsors. So since it's on-premise, it's just considered an on-premise wall sign as opposed to an ad mural, which allows you to do off-premise graphics.
So you can't buy Pepsi off premise?
What's that?
You can't buy Pepsi off premise?
Oh, sure, you can buy Pepsi off premise. Yeah,
They can't take it down.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and we're just approving this sign, not the location. So if the Clippers want to come in with the Mountain Dew sign in the future, they have to
Come back and chat with us. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's your understanding as well?
Yes.
And
Okay.
will this be up?
Probably for all of 23. I mean, once again, it's kind of a fad thing. It's pretty popular right now. It's being done in a lot of places. Who knows if that exists next year?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a fun idea, frankly, when I finally understood what it was. So.
Not waiting till next meeting to see your picture.
Well, I was wondering why Louis didn't have his. He said he did an on-site visit, so.
We can Photoshop any of you on there.
I think you gotta take her over there. Okay. What's the pleasure of the group,
I
please?
just had a comment.
Yes, please.
In some of the renderings, it looks like this one, for example, you can see the brick coming through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's very nice because it has more of a distressed look, like it was painted on and it really looks nicely integrated with the building. And then in other examples, it looks a little bit thicker and more opaque.
Mhm.
So I would suggest that whatever material you use or the thickness, I think if you can get the effect
To the
that
brick.
that the brick shows and that it's more painted and it's
Yeah.
a little more.
But all of our concourse signs in Huntington Park on brick walls are rolled in like that. They all look like they're painted. And actually, the vinyl graphic for Mountain Dew, the brick kind of comes through too. So
Yeah.
that's the whole emphasis, is to make it look old style.
That's
Yeah.
good. I think that's a good direction.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? There is a motion to approve. Is there,
Second.
and a second? Thank you, Jennifer. Any other questions, thoughts, anything from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approves, or is approved. Thank you very much.
That was your 5 minutes this morning to think summer thoughts and warm weather. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Thanks, you too.
Have a good trip.
Yeah, drive carefully.
All right.
Okay, next case.
Yes. Final case on the agenda, 480 East Main Street. So here's the location on the aerial. It's near the intersection of Washington Avenue and East Main Street. I did a site visit. And here's the building. It's a Quonset style building from 1946, 47, around there. It's got a cinder block facade. Entryway is just the garage. You can see there is cracking on the building. Cracking here. Cracking.
Louis, is as the building, I know the facade is concrete, but is the back of it, is it metal?
Yeah, so here I'll show you. So this is the view south of the building, southeast, just to give you some, this is the view across the street, to give you some idea. So here you go, Jana. This is the west side of the building, still has that Quonset style. Is it Quonset?
Quonset.
Yeah, Quonset.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a silent F for Quonset style. You can still see it's got the roof there. But on the east side, it's got cinder block.
Okay,
And so you can see the cinder block. There is,
Well, there's a half wall there on the west, east as well, right?
well, that's on the west side. So here on the east side, you can see this is actually like part of the building.
Okay,
You can
so-
see they have interior space here. This is the side of the Quonset. You can see there's some cracking and some.
And on the west, let's look at the.
Yeah. Yeah, now if you look at the rear side, it's got a big parking lot and a wall.
Flat section.
Yeah, there's a flat section up. So it looks like this building used to extend further back. And there was a wall on the east side as well, and probably some sort of a wall and some sort of a roof, but that's been removed sometime in the past. And here you can see, looking at that wall and kind of some of their undeveloped property there on the other side. Here's looking west in the alley, north of the parking lot, and to the east on the alley, we have this building here. So that is the building. So the applicant is proposing to tear down a 1947 Quonset-style commercial building on East Main Street. The one-story facade is built of cinder blocks, has a garage door for the main entrance, and has a clear pane and glass block windows. The rear portion is a surface parking lot with a large wall on the west property line. There are no immediate redevelopment plans for the lot, so the applicant is proposing to turn it into green space until future redevelopment can occur. Our analysis is the guidelines state that while demolition sometimes make way for projects of greater significance, it has often led to empty lots. The long-term effect has been the loss of continuity and the architectural fabric of many downtown streets. While the commission should consider if the building is in a deteriorated state such that it cannot economically be rehabilitated, it is the general intent of the guidelines to encourage the preservation of downtown building stock. So in summary, demolition without redevelopment plans is not supported by the guidelines. Additionally, staff requested information on whether the rear parking would be removed and for details regarding the seating and maintenance of the proposed green space. To date, this information has not been provided. So with that, I'll
Okay. Is someone here for the applicant? Could you come forward, please? Morning. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Aaron Shank.
And are you one of the owners then, or the owner?
No, I'm a property manager.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay.
Can you tell me how to spell your name? Is it Aaron and then Shank, Schenke?
Just K.
Okay, do you want to just walk us through what the situation here? We have a situation here that is against what our guidelines are. So talk us through where
Very
where you are
clearly,
in this.
we've tried on and off over the years to continue renting or leasing the building, and we've been struggling with squatters recently. And it is demolition has been a topic of discussion for some time. And obviously, we'd rather not tear something down, keep it there and keep revenue coming in. Directly to the east of us is a nationwide children's facility. And they had employed some of their own security in the matter. And one of the squatters that was living there is, forgive me for saying this, but a registered sex offender. And it is causing a lot of neighbor issues. And we have sent security and even police in multiple times, and they continue to damage the building or try to get in. I was there about a month ago, and we just see it's in the best interest of our neighbors to have the building torn down. And then as is it Lewis?
Yeah.
It said we have not submitted any green space or parking lot plan yet. That can be done soon. I would like to see it a parking lot. I know there's a church, a couple buildings to the west of us that's expressed interest in it. We actually know one of the members there. And that's openly where we're at.
Questions for the applicant, please? Thoughts?
I'm really familiar with this area, due to the fact that there's also Ohio Health has a facility that's right across the street. It is an eyesore, what you have, and understanding the development that has happened around there. For me, this is a really unique space in between the church and, well, right across the street from the church, which is, I believe, Mount Olivet.
No, you're on the wrong side. It's on the same side of the street as the church.
No, I
It's
thought,
between,
Well, she's saying that there's
and the children's hospital.
there's a Mount Carmel and a children's hospital.
there is a Ohio Health facility.
Ohio Health.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on the same side, street, Main Street.
No, I
No,
think
I think it's
it's on,
children's.
it's on the same side of Children's, which is across the street.
See the building on the end there? You go the other way, look, step right there.
Yeah,
What is
that's
that?
Ohio Health right next to it.
Ohio Health's right
That's
next
the
door.
Ohio Health at the corner where he has the pointer, then I think this other one that's.
The other one across.
This one here, I
Yeah.
think is a phone.
Ohio Health in that building?
Ohio Health is across.
Across the street, okay.
No, next to it.
It's children's next to it,
Oh, right there.
children's.
That's children's, right?
Okay, well, Ohio Health, Dr. George Barnett, office, family, is right on the first floor of that building.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So, Trudy,
That's
go
the
ahead.
same side.
But I'm just saying, it is an eyesore. It looks, it looks very abandoned. I agree, particularly around the safety issue. I don't know what happens there at night. But as I said, when you look at what the development that's happening around it, is it potentially a developable site? I think even more so than a green space and a parking lot. So, I mean, those are just my comments right now. I don't have a thought right now as far as demolition or not, because I would really rather see an idea of what you're thinking, either green space or a parking lot. I know you're saying that you do have interest from the church, and I would believe so because it has a very large congregation that comes in. But I would be hesitant at this point in time with not knowing what your decision is moving forward.
Well, we don't approve commercial parking lots downtown, right? So.
Well, they're not, the request is for a green space. So,
Well,
again, he hasn't gotten.
We don't have any evidence of what they want to do. So
No, I
He
understand, but
said he'd like it to be a parking lot.
If,
I
forgive me, it
understand
was
that
not
too.
my intent to waste anyone's time. I was operating under a safety pretense. And the minute that information had filtered back to me, I went to work immediately just to try to get it torn down.
How long has the building not been used, in other words, vacant? And when did you start having particular, these particular problems?
Yeah, great question. I would say it's been vacant for 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
On and off. We had the tire shop there and then I think it was a subleased to someone else. Seems like in the last year to year and a half, we've started having squatter issues.
And when you say squatter, these are people that will break in and stay
Mhm.
inside?
Yes.
You think if the building didn't look so derelict and so abandoned, and if it were, secured properly, that it would be less of a target for vandals and so forth? I mean,
I would not argue with
what
that.
happens in the other buildings at night, I mean, I think this is a matter of gross neglect on the part of the owner, and
The owner, I'm trying to speak responsibly. I've not been released funds to improve the building site. So
You've been what, I'm sorry?
I've not been approved funds to, or been given funds to approve the site.
I understand. Removing that building, is like a broken tooth. I mean, that block is relatively intact until you get up to the church area, and having a hole there doesn't seem like a very urban thing to me. And, the idea of clearing the site for some possible future development doesn't appeal to me at all. I think a coat of paint would be a better investment for the city.
I think it's a very, difficult issue because of course there's a security issue about it. But then again, just demolishing something without a plan is not a good idea. And I think Bob has a very interesting idea that maybe until there is a real direction for it or a plan, taking the facade and painting it or doing something interesting or creative with it, maybe, local artists doing something with it, a design, and then securing it properly, temporarily, until there's, there really is a redevelopment plan, I think makes more sense than just having a green space that we don't know what it is, and we don't know how long it will be there, and we don't even know what will happen once it's there. If there will be, we will continue to have problems, and it won't make that much of a difference as well. And I think securing it properly is very important, and having it look like there's some care, or that it's not abandoned, or that even if nobody's in it, people are surveying it, and it's something that, the owner cares about and is attending to it.
The inside of a concert hall is likely to be an interesting space. And
For artists?
somebody creative
Or-
could do something with, I would think.
Photographers.
So we have, sir, had much, I wouldn't say much, we've had expressed interest over the years. It is, I mean, they're not uncommon. You see them in rural America today. Farmers employ them a lot for equipment storage or for hay and straw. That one is a little older, and it's a neat building. We had actually even discussed dismantling it and relocating it, which would be in essence demolition, obviously. I don't, due to its given age, I don't know the viability of that.
What's the condition in the building?
Yeah, good question. So when we're looking northbound now, when you look from the south, and then there was southbound on the left side, there's the block area. It's not great. The Quonset hut itself is not in bad shape. I mean, you could use a wire brush and, a lot of paint, but there have been people over the years that have expressed interest in ownership. It's not gone.
Okay, other thoughts, questions?
I
Jennifer?
think, yeah, my thought is, I guess, general building demolition doesn't solve like crime, safety issues, right? People just kind of relocate somewhere else nearby. So it's a broader like, neighborhood issue.
Okay.
I think there are avenues to improve the current condition. I like some of Bob's ideas about making it, like securing it, painting it. And yeah, I think obviously if there are future development plans, we want to see those with hand in hand with the kind of demolition requests.
Okay.
Do you have any problem, this alley I'm looking at in between the building and the medical center? Is that an issue too? Is that lit at night? Does the medical center have lights on the side of that building, or do you have lights on the side of it?
No, ma'am, I'm not aware. I've been there many times during the day. I can't recall being there at night.
Okay, other questions too? What's the pleasure of the group? I think we should make a motion to approve, and then we can vote either yes or no on that. Any other thoughts? Problems?
Move approval.
There is a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Any other questions, comments? Anyone from the audience have a? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to allow demolition, say aye. Those opposed, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that has been denied at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Louis, do you have any other items that we need to discuss? I just wanted to make quick comments on a couple things.
Yeah, we have the staff approval items.
Okay,
So I just do that. We had a wrought iron fence on Ridge Street, which also went through HRC.
Okay,
Two ad murals and one sign refacing, pretty quiet.
okay.
Um,
I move
Okay.
approval of the staff.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Two or three things here.
Actually,
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
1 second, I do apologize. We had 2 more cases last night, just so you know. 2 more ad murals came in, which I approved last night. So,
Where are those?
on Long Street.
Oh, are they on your list?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm see.
I apologize. That was an older version. Thought I-
40 West, 43 West Long Street. Okay,
So can I just get one more vote? on that?
okay. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion
I
approved.
move approval.
Thanks, in a second.
Second?
Thank you, Jana. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
got you. Okay, we got you legal again. then.
Yeah, they were all good.
Okay, couple things. After we had an issue a little while ago. We have added to our preamble here discussion to notify people that if they want to talk before the motions or before the commission here, instead of kind of trying to hear them from the back of the room, just please come up to the podium. We'll have a speaker. We will make a microphone available for them. And they have the 3 minutes because I could not hear the person that we had a few weeks ago. So we're just going to announce that, and that's going to be part of our policy. And it has been our policy, really, frankly, but we're going to articulate that. Second, a couple of issues came up. What do we do about brightness of signs? I don't think we've had I can show you a couple here. I think the southwest corner of High Street and Long Street, there's no real residential around there. Is that Long or Spring Street I'm thinking of? That has been, in my mind, too bright. I think we've had the southwest corner of High Street and State Street that is, I don't know if that's gotten better, but that's been too bright. And we have to somehow or another, I think, figure out where we want to be on that. I think there's an overall brightness level with the city of Columbus, and I don't know, but that's a suburban standard, really. Maybe it works for us.
Did we
But
start to look into this?
we have, but I don't know that we came to a conclusion, have we?
Well,
And I don't know how to get to a conclusion, frankly.
the conclusion was that we would first, and what I'll do is I'll start including that in the staff reports. So you guys are okay with that as kind of a recommendation for all these kinds of signages. We recommend that they comply with code section.
Whatever, you figure that out.
Yeah.
I'd be impressed if you remember.
3377.
Okay.
But if they,
It's really gonna be issue, particularly with Scioto Peninsula.
Yeah,
and the park's right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I mean, I've seen a lot of these things and they're not bad. I don't, but we just want to make sure we don't end up with some thing that doesn't kind of work real well for us.
Do we need to talk to some of the sign people about this? The people.
That's a great idea.
Because to find out what's possible, what do they run into in other cities?
Yes,
What does it mean when we say, is it adjustable?
Right.
Maybe we could get somebody, one of the good sign companies to come.
Maybe
Advise
like
us
for
on
a business meeting and they can.
Yeah, in a business meeting, yeah.
And then maybe on the application, if somebody's submitting, they have to say what the range is or what the lighting level they're proposing. That maybe that's part of the application process, do you
But I
think?
think we have to figure out,
Well,
what does that
beforehand,
mean?
we'd
What
have
would
to
they
figure
tell us and what would we do with that
Right, but
information?
we'd have to figure it out before, but then once
Yeah.
we knew what we were comfortable with and what it all meant, then maybe that's part of what they have to present to us.
So this is what we discussed. Are you impressed? 3377. I didn't get the 0.08, but
look,
yeah, I know. But so yeah, this is what we had discussed. Remember, this is the illumination and special effects that applies to the rest of the city, and they talk about setting light levels and brightness levels and stuff like that.
so when they do an application for a sign, a lit sign, anywhere else in the city, they're prepared to provide that information, right?
Right, and remember, yes, and so what we had discussed was how, so I can send this out if we'd like to. as well.
Why don't you send that to us?
Okay,
So in other words, if we ask for that, we're not asking for anything that they aren't doing anyway. around the rest of the city.
Right, and it's not a suburban, they worked with the sign companies when they drafted this, I think back in like 2000 and, I can't remember, 2007 or something like that. But they worked with the sign companies and basically the sign companies were like, this is what we can work with. And the city looked at it and they did tests and they viewed signage and stuff like that. And so it's not suburban, they have suburban standards and normal standards, and they apply these to commercial areas. So this is what would apply to example.
Oh, no, what I,
Short north and stuff, so.
okay, I guess the distinction for me would be that and when I'm thinking suburban, I'm thinking, let's say Morse Road.
Right.
Along there, as opposed to what we have in downtown is we either pretty much have things along the first or second floors or 10 or plus stories up in the air. And so maybe we have a little different kind of thing. So I'm wondering if that is.
Sure, but I
And
mean,
maybe if it's on street level, for example, it's maybe slightly
sure,
not
but
surprising.
so look at short north, for example, and stuff like that.
Okay.
These standards apply there.
So after we approve the sign, they have to go get a permit. Do they have to supply this information to get the permit, or are they exempt because we approved it?
So they are exempt because you approved it as presented. So when you approve a sign, you're approving, they defer to you guys on this.
But shouldn't we then reference 3377.08 in our approval?
Yes, and so what I'll do is to start reminding people, I will put that when we have a graphic, I will say,
Subject to,
staff will recommend that.
oh,
Yeah,
you're saying
but-
so you're saying we have the ability to override the requirements of 337708.
No,
Well, no, they don't have to comply with it.
Well, that's what I mean. And effectively, we've
Yeah,
overridden
okay,
it,
okay,
which is
fine.
what we did today.
you don't override it, it's just not there.
Right.
There's no overriding, it's not even there. So what you guys would say is we approve the sign, but we want it to
Right.
conform to 33.
So when does this get, who uses this?
The rest of this, building and zoning services downstairs.
All right, so do we need an ordinance that says for the downtown district, this section applies, or why wouldn't it be automatic?
Well, so
Unless we would perhaps make an exception to it,
we had a draft ordinance.
Okay. But we didn't do it.
It didn't get anywhere. I pushed for a while, and it's just
Okay.
a lot going on, and with the, I don't know, zoning code rewrite. Ideally, that would be baked in. It would just add that to our code.
Audit, so it's not automatic.
But things take a long time, there's a lot of priorities going on. But we can at least say,
Yeah.
we're requesting. Now, this code, when they're applying, so this is more of an enforcement issue. So if there's a complaint, they go out, they measure the sign and stuff like that.
Right, but in our case, it wouldn't matter if there's a complaint because this didn't apply.
That's correct.
Can we add it to the guidelines?
It could be added to the guideline, but it's complicated to get those things done. I know ideally it should be, but
Okay, well, I think it works if we just stipulate that we are going to require that.
Right.
yes,
Right.
that's the easiest solution. We just,
Does that make sense to everybody?
Makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Okay.
Does this apply to like building exterior signage or building lighting? I mean, or this is just graphic?
this is just graphics. Yeah, these are graphics.
Do you think, I still think in addition, it would be a good idea to have the lighting, the signage company come and give us an education on it, do you think? Or do you feel it's not necessary if we're referring to this?
You could,
Let's reread this because we haven't seen it for.
Yeah, why don't we look at this? We can talk about it the next meeting if we want to.
So
Okay.
it was you end up suggesting it within the staff report, and then if we approve it, through that suggestion, it becomes.
Well, we just get them to agree,
We
so
don't have to
if they want to be approved.
We
they-
approve it as a
They
condition.
approve it subject to the requirements of 337708.
right, so I would recommend it to you to approve it with that. You would make it a condition of
Yeah.
approval.
Got it.
The applicant would have to
Yeah.
agree to that, and then.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make a couple comments. We see this kind of coming up periodically. So somebody just neglects their building, they don't maintain it. By the way, I don't care whether you're in the downtown area or you're out, on the hilltop or anywhere. you are required to maintain your property, okay? You can't just let it, at a certain point in time, there's a code violation, okay? So these people, what they do is they do nothing, and then they come back and say, well, the roof's falling in. Of course, they haven't fixed the roof, which over time they're required to do. They cannot let it fall into a state of disrepair where I think this is true, so that it is now dangerous. So what we do is we do this, and they don't want to spend any money. Now, by the time they pay for demolition on this building and turn it into a green space, that was kind of a conversational comment, I guess. They've spent some money on that, okay? The demolition is not free. You gotta fill the site back and then you gotta put, so, but they're not gonna paint the building, and they stick a sign on there with the realtor. And, they're not gonna put any money into it, I'm sure, if you called over there and said, I wanna lease it, what is it? So we get into this thing where, they cause a problem and then they want us to kind of fix it, and it's just simply against our guidelines. And to me, it's a little bit of a slippery slope. And so if I had a building, they can close that building up, I would guess, so that somebody can't get it. Now, I know they will try to break into it. I get that, but I just think they can, they should be required to do what it takes to make their building. So, and they come to us and we're gonna somehow or another fix it by letting them tear it down. I think we just, we're gonna see that, it's gonna come up. My conversation with Lewis the other day was, should we, when some of this stuff comes up, ask the code enforcement people to go look at the place, because I don't care where you are in the city of Columbus, there are requirements to maintain your property safely. So, by the way, this hurts everybody. It hurts if they don't do that, it hurts the neighborhood over there. If you're in a residential area anywhere around this town, south, east, northwest, if somebody doesn't do it, and they have a derelict property, that doesn't help the value of the neighborhood. So I would think we're doing a public service if we say, look, code enforcement, if they say they got a problem, you guys ought to be going over and looking at it. So that's just.
Is there a danger, Steve, that code enforcement goes over there and says, well, we don't think this building is safe, tear it down tomorrow?
I guess I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So what happens is, and I'll just talk in general because we don't want to talk about any cases in particular, but when these things happen and they say the building is in a bad condition, it's a danger, it needs to be torn down. I always say, well, I need an engineering, show me something showing that this is the case. And if they can't provide it, then I say, well, then you need to talk to it's in building and zoning services, building site, I forget who it is, but there's a division that will go out and see if a building is in such danger that it needs to have an emergency demolition order. If the city has not issued it, has gone out, if there's other ways of doing this, if the building's gonna fall down and coming here and saying, hey, the building's gonna fall down.
Right.
So they have other avenues. So yeah, you can call code enforcement. Code enforcement can go out and look at a building. Code enforcement can make them clean up the property if it's in bad cases and stuff like that. But code enforcement won't make the decision that the building needs to come down. They're not there. If they feel like it's a danger, though, they can call the correct entity and they can go out and take a look.
So there's some kind of due process.
There's a
some
due
kind of
process.
process. Yeah.
But so when they come here and they're like, the building's gonna fall down, they need
Yeah.
to talk to them.
Okay. That's all my thoughts.
I have something, Steve. I want the record to show that after all this time, I've mastered holding this thing up.
I've been wondering what you've been doing during the meetings, Bob. You haven't been talking much.
No, I mean, I'm trying to figure that thing out.
Well done. Is that considered an advance in technology then? Huh?
Well, yeah, for me.
That's anybody else?
Well, I like what you're saying because I think then it gives the applicant, because a lot of times they'll come with a case like this and say the building is in disrepair, it's really dangerous, we have to demolish it right away. And they don't really have anything to back it up. And this way they know that if they make a statement like that, there has to really be something behind it. So I think it would help, just help understand it and have something to justify it. And then from there, we can make a decision. But I agree that they'll run the building down and then say, this is the only thing we can do, and then it puts us in a difficult position because we don't want to have just open gaps or parking lots or where we don't need them and.
I think we've talked before about having like the owners represented at these meetings, you know. like
Yeah.
The manager of the property, right?
Yeah, who's never driven by apparently at night. So,
Right.
okay,
Oh, I think on this particular, not this particular one, but just overall is, we've seen kind of a wide variance in how prepared the applicant is, the level of professionals they have employed, the circumstances, the experience of the individual owner. And I think what we have to decide is how, I don't use the word helpful because that sounds too positive, but how involved this body as well as staff is being guiding the person, guiding the applicant, along.
Right.
As a member of the, public, they should have a right to be able to bring their case to a certain company as well. We don't want to close that off and only make our body and it's massive, really restricting me, but, and make our body only open to those who are appropriately prepared or have the resources to hire the appropriate individuals and everything like that.
Okay.
I mean, this was the far extreme of the least ready.
Right.
But we've seen some of the people that are most ready and they're still getting denied because of our policy, which is okay.
Right.
But at least, we would see what their efforts were, and maybe bring some plans in, and maybe they have architectural drawing, or maybe they have a lawyer with them, or whatever it is. So, I just want to be cognizant of that as well. We don't want to make this only the tribunal of those that have the appropriate professionals. It should be open for all that want to
Of course.
press their case.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's why I don't tell anybody they can't come to the commission, but I'll let you know how much they've worked with me, so I ask for materials. So in all those demolition cases, most of the time, it's just, we would like to demo, and then it's how much do they work with me? Well, we want to see a site plan, we want to see a maintenance agreement. We would prefer, I would highly encourage you not to make it surface parking and just make it grass, so it's more likely to be redeveloped, blah, blah, blah. So, but we won't ever tell someone they can't come to the commission. Because, it's different,
And that gets to the equitable issue
yeah.
that they're talking about, particularly around the zoning code. Because the preparation is different for different individuals. Some people may just be residents who have property, whereas others are professionals or have corporate structures. So I think that I don't want to be too restrictive. And as you said, you don't allow, you work with folks and you let everyone come, but I don't want us to view it in that manner as well by saying, oh, well, they were better prepared and this person was not. Some people are gonna have to work with a little more so. It may never get to yes.
But I think we have in the past, we've had cases where there was a homeowner or something who's been very patient to try to walk them through it, so. I mean, I think that's been our practice.
we have always.
We started from the very beginning, being different from the other commissions, if you will, in that we talked about the fact we're part of the development department. Therefore, we want things to develop, right? We want people to get to yes. And particularly in the beginning, but I think we've raised the bar significantly in downtown. We get a lot more, particularly at major projects.
Right.
They come in at a higher level than they used to, partly because we're here. But for a long time, we helped people along with the idea of getting to yes. And I don't know if the newer members know this, but we've only voted no on a building development project once in all these years. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody comes in here and gets what they want, right? We send them back, we table things, we work with them. Sometimes they just go away because they know it's not going to happen. But we've only had to get to the point of having a final proposal in front of us. I'm not talking about graphics, but building one time. And that project, even they got mad, they said, well, go ahead and vote. So we did. And we still got them back to the table a couple months later with a replacement project that we approved. So I think, as a group, we've done when you go to some of the other area commissions,
Oh,
they
so
pretty much
yeah.
start with no, right?
Yes.
And you have to like pull them to yes. Well, I think that
Well,
this group
and-
has always
No,
been
no, no,
different.
and I wasn't being accusatory that that's
No, no,
not
I
the
didn't
case.
mean that. I'm just trying to get
The,
background.
the other thing we've done is, in a way, our responses have been proportional to the project. So for example, we understand this level of thing, we can operate better with something more. But if you've got some of the stuff, the high-rise buildings, what Jeff Edwards is doing, some of these things, with some of the stuff nationwide, we have asked for more, these are major projects. We ask for very detailed drawings so we can see them. We have, sometimes we're trying to be careful about the materials, about the windows, about the lighting on the project. But those are places where I think we just need to ask for those things. So in other words, I think we have tried to be, and I think we have been proportional, based on what the project is, so.
I like the idea of having, when they can, or if they're receptive to it, like Jennifer was saying, having the building owner come. Because I think, let's say, with cases where you have the property manager and we're suggesting things, they're not in the position, or they don't maybe have the motivation to understand the value of it, or think this might be a creative approach and this might be a good thing for me, this might be helpful for me, this might be helpful for the neighborhood, this might be helpful for, future development.
Well, they don't have the authority to.
Or the authority.
Which he said right out of the gate.
So
Yeah.
if you have the person who owns it, then you might be able to have more direct discussion, and they might be open.
And we've had that happen.
To our motive, what we're concerned, and how we think that this solution we're proposing could be helpful for them in the community. So I think it's a good idea.
Well, if the owner doesn't show up, they have less of a chance to get to yes. I mean, in this case, we had no motivation to
Right.
try to do anything because he couldn't make any decisions. He had no authority, so.
Yeah.
It's like the
Okay.
owners.
The sign guy wasn't any better. The sign guy had no idea what he was doing.
So I have a question about so how far do we go in terms of offering resources or avenues for them to better prepare to come in front of the commission? Like, if obviously they're challenged.
I don't want to I'd hate for us to get into that, I think.
Yeah.
Lewis talks to all the applicants. And
Yeah.
if they don't listen to him, he can't tell them not to come.
He could suggest.
What I spend the most time doing is working with the applicant to get a complete packet.
Right.
And I tell them, at the beginning, this is what we need to see, or if I see things that I think will help move the project along. We've gotten additional storefronts on buildings. We've got those Edwards buildings, we got 2 additional floors on both of them, just through our talking to them. So we could do something like that, but it's better for me to look at it a case-by-case basis. And another thing that's helped a lot is I think it was, several years ago, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we switched to a 4-week review. It used to be like a 2-week review. And so with the 4-week review, it gives us a lot of time to talk with the applicants and hold their hands and be like, this is what we need. I follow up a lot from that. You get this yet? When are you gonna get it? And I try to be pretty lenient with them, as you see, like sometimes they don't have like a rendering and I'm like, well, we need the rendering, and they're like, and I let them turn it in 2 days before the meeting just to help move the project forward. But
I think there could be a trap in this whole idea of we start telling them to do something, because it almost implies that we then are committed to saying, okay, for example, why don't you talk to an architect? We have over time, over the years, had some architectural drawings that have floated in here that are, to me, terrible, very unprofessional. But now they show up with an architectural drawing. Does that mean that we've said, hey, you go see an architect, and we're going to say, okay? It doesn't, there's somewhere out there's a little, I don't want to fall into that too much.
Yeah, I think that was the point that, I was making, how far we're gonna go or not go.
Yeah.
And the staff person or whatever, I keep that again. It is taxpayer dollars that fund the staff. And at the staff level, I do believe what he is doing or others in the office are doing is certainly the right thing to do, because these processes can be intimidating, confusing, inconsistent and everything. And again, back to Commissioner Bartley's point, about the whole equitable, and what a lot of this zoning reviews get down to, whatever it is. We can't have two separate processes for those resources, with those resources. And I respect the history of, what this commission has done. It sounds like, that we do take things on a case by case basis and listen to everyone and things like that. But I think those of us we just want to make sure of what we're doing and just keep that in mind.
And Lewis I think has done it, because I talked to him about these individual cases. He's done a good job of, again, as Bob said, we're not trying to, we want to see everything kind of develop. We want to see it develop well. And we want to have things happen in a positive way. So if somebody comes in, that's what he's there for. He's not there to stymie it. He's there, but he's also going to tell them so that they don't have a false expectation that if you think you want to get it done, there are certain standards and guidelines, and here's what's happened over history with this kind of thing. So my guess is that he didn't walk out of here totally surprised today. He didn't come in here necessarily thinking this was going to happen.
So I've taken zoning cases through almost every community around the globe. And I always rely on the staff person to
Sure.
kind of give me, the roadmap, what I need, what does the commission expect? What are the guidelines? What can I get away with? What can I not get, so that when I'm going in there, I've got a good feel. And quite honestly, it varies as to how helpful that staff person is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had one case when a staff person absolutely told me, no way will you ever get that approved. And I got it unanimously approved. I mean, it's not. So
Well, you're just that good, Mike.
Yeah. Okay, I think we all are on a page. But yeah, so thank you for that comment. Any other items?
Just one quick thing.
Yeah.
Well, on the application, we have a section where we show all the required materials and we break down what, manufacturers, drawings, required materials, photos, how to take the photos and stuff like that. So we do try and give them a little guide.
And yeah,
So that's an improvement over the past, and also we have guidelines now, so there's no reason for anybody to come in completely, assuming that we'd only approve it, we like it.
And we have electronic submission now, so they can modify them a lot easier than bringing in a big
Yeah.
plan and then you're like, print it out again and then, so it's, yep.
okay, any other comments, anything from anybody?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry everything. Good.